All right, gunfire and explosions, that's what you're hearing at the cafe after a group of hostages are seen leaving the building, the police moving in. It's quite a staggering situation unfolding at this chocolate cafe that we have been watching under siege for the last, 15 to 20 hours. Nonetheless, it is all coming together right now. We don't know what the outcome of this is, but we know so far that at least 4 hostages have been wounded, some said to be quite serious. We don't know the state of this spiritual healer, Haron Monis, or his other alias, Mohammed Hassan Mentegi. We don't know what's happening with him. I'm going to bring in Joel Pollack, who joins us on Mondays. Good to have you, sir. And I've got Tarek Fatah here still at the desk. And we'll continue this conversation as to what we're watching unfold in Australia. What are your thoughts, Joel, as far as, the way that this has been covered and what we've been hearing? Because so many in the media have been frightened, or I don't know if it's political correctness, but they don't want to call this what it is, which is a terrorist attack. I mean, this is still a gunman with hostages.
What's even more striking, I think, is the degree to which social media has seen trends like I'll Ride With You, which is meant to convey solidarity with Muslims, as if the inevitable consequence of this attack is that Westerners are going to start attacking Muslims or discriminating against Muslims. There's a large amount of solidarity with Muslims around the world, and at one point today, more solidarity with the perceived victims of whatever discrimination is coming than with the victims, actual victims, inside the cafe.
Yeah.
And it does tell you that this sort of problem of Islamophobia, which I'm not denying actually exists, has been blown so far out of proportion that people are really just queuing up to express solidarity with an enormous number of people who are allegedly the real victims, when actually the real victims are still trapped there.
Yeah, you made a very good point with your writing. And Tarek, you're Muslim. I mean, you saw this apologist, culture jump right into this thing. It was about an hour into this breaking news, and I didn't see one tweet saying, hey, my best to the hostages, let's get them out safely. It was all about, I'm so sorry, this is not the Muslims' fault. Am I wrong in that?
I think there's tremendous amount of what I call white guilt, for lack of a better word. And anyone with a well-meaning attitude towards our society wants to keep away from any racist backlash. But that has become such a fashionable trend now that we've lost track of exactly what's happening. We have a situation in Australia where someone who declares themselves as a supporter of ISIS, that makes a demand that I want an ISIS flag to be delivered to this cafeteria, yet the journalists right across the world are doing a paralysis of analysis over what's written on the flag. The major part of the coverage in the last 15 hours has been to analyze the flag.
Yeah.
When every villager from Egypt to Pakistan would tell you exactly what's written over there, what it means, and what is the implication of the flag, whether it is with the Taliban, the Boko Haram, the ISIS, Saudi Arabia, or even al-Nusra, who have exactly the same flag.
They're reporting now, police confirming that the siege is now over, and we're still waiting for confirmation on, if anybody's been killed or anybody injured. But, Joel, once this is, deemed to be over, I mean, this is a long way from being over. Western interests at large, whether it be Britain, America, Canada, or Australia, are under attack.
And it's interesting who's attacking them. I mean, throughout this crisis, I've had my social media open, and I have a large number of Muslim friends, thankfully, and they've been tweeting the normal stuff, family photographs, what they did this weekend, wishing each other well over the holiday and things like that. I mean, this is not a crisis for the Muslim world. This has become a crisis for the West, and the West specializes in attacking itself. And it's time to actually look at these threats logically and with cold doses of reality and say, look, this is where it's coming from. It's not all Muslims, it's a small number of Muslims, but you're not going to defeat them by dismantling the West, by withdrawing from things the West has fought to defend, by questioning all the assumptions of our philosophy and our history and our civilization. I mean, this has really just got to be dealt with, and with real outreach to Muslims, not the sort of phony outreach which is Western self-denial.
And so how does that happen? Where does the president stand in all this? What does he do?
Well, I think he hasn't really said anything about this yet, but I think he has certainly bent over backwards, you could say, to try to excuse the excesses of radical Islam and said that there's no religion, least of all Islam, that could do the things that ISIS is doing. Well, ISIS is doing them, and it's doing them in the name of Islam, so you have to deal with that without necessarily writing off all other Muslims, and you certainly don't have to write off the West because of the excesses of a number of Muslims who are doing this in a particular area. I think you have to get back to a real relationship between people from different parts of the world, which is predicated on identifying a common threat, addressing it in real terms, and not this sort of phony political correctness and gestures like that.
And I only have about 45 seconds, but Tarek, I mean, Joel has said mirrored much of what you have said, but he's one of few that will actually say that.
I would go a step further. I would like the West to insist that sermons from the mosque pulpit should stop referring to non-Muslims with the derogatory word kafir and keep insisting on that. It can easily be taken out of their sermons, and some people should stand up and say, we don't go to churches to condemn Muslims. Why do you do that with Christians?
Yeah.